We are live again for the second interview of today. We are going to have 3 interviews. This is our second one. Carole, I was practicing how to say your name, and I've been working hard for the last 3 days because I always butcher people's name. Carole Conklin.
Bingo, you got it.
Hey,
Excellent.
I did it.
Good job.
Carole, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for taking the time. We've been working on this interview for a while, but finally it's happened.
Absolutely.
Carole, you have an important job. When I say an important job, I don't mean officially, personally, which is advocate for people with disabilities. Probably not just in our city. You take this to heart because you are a person with disabilities. So you understand exactly what the issue is. Am I correct in this assumption?
Yes, absolutely. Being blind, and I had partial vision from birth, that categorized me as being legally blind in New York State, and I got around independently, basically, and was okay until my vision deteriorated, and I lost my vision at the age of 27, and my whole world changed in the sense where I got the reality of the challenges of truly having a disability. So my real passion came to play when I started working at the agency at Westchester Disabled on the Move. They're an agency located in Yonkers at 984 North Broadway, and they are the ones, the former executive director and the current one, Maria Samuels, and who wasn't the executive director at the time, but they really encouraged me, saying, you just really need to be that voice, and they showed me, and I learned so much through the agency on the needs of people with disabilities, our rights, and that just suddenly became part of my world.
What do you think, Carole, is the biggest problem? Not necessarily problem, but what do you think is the thing that we need the most in order to facilitate, to help people with disabilities, different disabilities, but what could we do? The people, the city, and when I say the city, I'm not talking about specifically about Yonkers, I'm talking about in general terms. What do you think is the biggest problem, Carole?
Well, accessibility is one of the major challenges for people with disabilities. Seeing infrastructures, having ramps where you can access the building, having, there are buildings today that don't have elevators because they're old buildings. So that hinders people with disabilities to find accessible housing. Everybody speaks of affordable housing. That is a need, but the key word is affordable, accessible housing. We have intersections, that not all intersections have proper curb cut ramps, so persons in wheelchairs can get across the intersections, or if they use a walker, or people, even the average person who uses a stroller can cross the intersections. But also what is known as accessible pedestrian traffic signals. In White Plains, the older versions make the cuckoos and the chirp sounds, but here in Yonkers, which has been amazing in really updating and making everything more accessible in terms of their streets. We see the intersections having the ramps and the accessible pedestrian signals where they have the rapid beep countdown, and then there's a button as you come to the intersection that you can push, and it'll actually verbalize that you can cross. And that is a very helpful tool for those who are visually impaired and or blind.
No, Carole, you have some people that know you. They're already here supporting and saying, Carole, you are awesome. And this comes from Evelyn Morales Diaz. Now, since we are talking about sidewalks, cut sidewalks, let me make a point here to my community, to my city. Guys, remember, that there is some people in Yonkers and everywhere, but we are talking about Yonkers, that need to have wheelchairs to come into sidewalks, to walk up to sidewalks, cross the street, or whatever. And I believe that those scooters out there that sometimes are dropped off any place in a sidewalk, and sometimes at those places where there is the cut for the accessibility for the people with disability, they are blocking those places. Yeah, leave them where you want to leave them, except places where people with disability need access to the sidewalks. Be aware of that. Be respectful of that. Now, Carol, let me ask you this. Is it offensive for anyone to come and help somebody? Let's say you lost your vision and somebody sees you on a sidewalk and wants to come and give you a lending hand to cross the street. Sometimes there is people that might not take that kindly because they feel like, well, are you saying that I cannot do what I need to do? Or is that appreciated?
Well, I feel generally it never hurts to be asked. There's nothing wrong with that. It shouldn't be taken as an offense, but some people, you know, it depends on the way the person approaches. If a person just politely, you know, comes up to you and says, "Do you need assistance?" and you say, "No, thank you," you have that control to say yes or no, and then they just move on. But I've had experience where I had someone come up to me and put their hand on me and grab, you know, and pull me to cross me, or to say, "Oh, no, here's the door to the elevator." That is the wrong way to approach a person, any person. No one should put their hands on you in any form, whether you have a disability or not. If you want, you can speak, you can ask, or they say no, then you thank them and they move on. That's really it. But I appreciate the assistance because some intersections, you know, can be challenging, even with the traffic signals in place. I'm sure you've experienced trying to cross Central Avenue, Tuckahoe Road.
Never him.
They're rough. And
for somebody with the full vision.
yes, anyone experiencing that. There's not much time. It's a very busy street and these main roads. And so if you are not sure and you know that it's not enough time for you to get across, you're not a speed walker and you want to get there safely, if someone offers to help, there's no harm, and it shouldn't be taken as offense.
Thank you. Now, Carol, you are an advocate for people with disabilities, okay? What does that actually mean? What do you actually do, okay? Please explain.
I feel it's being a voice for speaking on the issues, addressing the needs and issues that hinder people with disabilities in having access to their rights, to accessibility, to to the same opportunities as everyone else, and whether it's employment, having accessibility with getting into transportation, street clean, privately. Advocating is making sure that your voice is heard, that you can, so that the needs of people with disabilities can be met, and the barriers can be torn down. So we all have the same equal opportunities.
If someone with disability is having a challenge on the items that you just said, and they need to speak with someone, they need to talk to someone, so the person can be a guide, is that an organization that they can reach out to?
Well, there are always different services in place to address people with disabilities in their needs, depending on what the needs are. The agency I work for has services, for different areas, and we do advocate to a point and make and helping ensure the rights. Especially right now, we're trying to get people out to vote. I heard you in your previous interview speaking about people getting out to vote. Westchester Disabled on the Move has rev up to vote. We want to make sure that people with disabilities not just vote, but get out to their voting in person and having their voice heard. Be a face in the community, as it should be. That it shouldn't just be an absentee ballot because something is not accessible, where they cannot go into their polling site or they cannot use the voting machine independently. You know, there is a machine there that is accessible for all to use, and this is, you know, one, you know, agency that has this Ref Up to Vote that can help educate, and in fact, including the youth. We're trying to get the youth out there and being, you know, active. But it really, I guess we'd say, it carries out to what your need is, and there are different agencies. Office for People with Disabilities provides a resource of information that's located in White Plains. It really just is important to know what your need is, and there are resources.
Carole, I see that you have lots of fans. Okay? This comment comes from Bria Roberts. Hello, Carole. While working at Kmart in White Plains a few years back, I enjoyed assisting you, with her shopping from time to time. Continue advocating for those who at times feel like their voices are not heard.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, that was a wonderful thing. Well, that is what you call reasonable accommodations. When you can go into a store like Kmart and they get someone that works in the store to help you, because I did not have someone to help me and be my eyes to do some shopping. And she was, you know, and other store reps there would help me in describing the items. I would tell them what I want. I would touch the items, and it made my independent shopping more complete and satisfying. And that is reasonable accommodations, and that is something that is another need that should be met.
So a huge shout out to Kmart for making that possible.
I miss White Plains,
Yeah.
Kmart.
We wish more businesses would follow that example. We thank Bria Roberts for helping Carole. We wish more people would offer to help. As Carole just said, if you see somebody with disabilities, don't go and touch, but you can go and ask, do you need any help, sir? Do you need any help, ma'am? And whatever the person says, respect their wishes and help if you can. That's a good thing. Now guys, as we go on this interview, I'm going to ask you a huge favor. This is the type of interviews we wish you would share. Not the other negative stuff that sometimes we put out, because Yonkers Voice does not make the news, we only report the news. We report if it's good, we report if it's bad, we report the indifferent. We just report the news. But the interview that we wish you would share, it's this type of interviews that will motivate people to do better. Interviews that will motivate people to be positive, to help others. This is about all of us. So be good, do your part, share the interviews. And if you want to give us some stars, hey, that is good too. But remember, stars is not the only way to support Yonkers Voice. You can do so by asking your friends, your families to join us on Facebook, by following us on Facebook, and also on our YouTube channel. Once in a while, Facebook has technical problems, but Facebook doesn't. But YouTube, Ru Ross doesn't have technical problems. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We report the news in one platform or the other. Follow both. What do you think we need to do? Do you think that we need to do more? There is anything that you wish would be better? Talk to us. You know, again, not in an official position, but from a position, from an angle of a disabled person with disabilities. What things that you wish you would see better or more?
I just really hope that there could continue to be more funding be made available so that agencies can expand their services and help people with disabilities with employment, um, as well as seeing infrastructures being made accessible, because whether it's capital money or community development block grant monies, whatever the case is, it's just, I understand that funds always comes out to be the issue, and that's across the board. These past few years have been a tough financial challenge for all, so I understand everybody is needing monies. So, there's no pointing direction of who should be doing what, it's just speaking generally, that the money does help in making a difference and making things happen so that there can be more affordable, accessible housing, so there can be more street intersections that are accessible, and to have sidewalks even be even and flat, because just because intersections are made with the proper ramps and the traffic light signals, the sidewalks along the way could be uneven, and the person in a wheelchair may still have to travel along the street or go, because it's just too uneven to travel. And if that could be done somehow, that's great. Educating, and ensuring that when persons with disabilities, or whether it's special needs or autism, whatever the case is, when they come out at high school, they can get the education that they need so they can continue on and learn and get employed. Because the big challenge is people seeing the employers seeing the person for who they are, the abilities that are within, and not the exterior of their disability. It's been a very great challenge for me for years in finding employment. You get a lot of no's, and as someone taught me a long time ago from my church, you're one no closer to a yes, and that's always sounds great to me as an encouragement. It's good practice skills for interviewing. My vision loss was a hard hit for me personally, because I wanted to be a floral designer, and I thought that changed, and I had to be re-educated, and thank goodness there was funding for services from the New York State Commission for the Blind that paid for me to be educated on how to use adaptive software as a screen reader, to learn to use the programs, and be able to, find a new career and market myself for employment.
So, you just touched on another subject that I was going to bring it up. Employment. Do you think that we should have more companies that put some jobs aside for people with disability that are capable of doing that work? You kind of just answered, but I want you...
I think that we should all have the same opportunity. I don't know if it's saying they should be put aside, because you don't want to be, what's the word? Segregated. Like, you want to be able to go and be interviewed and let your resume and your skills speak for itself, okay, and be shown.
So, Carole, let me change the question around. Should people with disabilities be given an opportunity and not hold a condition against them?
Oh, absolutely. They shouldn't be a concern, oh, well, she's gonna need a screen reader software or other devices in order for her to do the task. She comes with a package deal. When I was marketed to work, I had resources available to me to help make the integration available, with making sure that if the compatibility is great for their system, to having a job coach in place there to help meet the needs of the employer. It was just a fit, and just them seeing what I can do. The worst they can do, just like everyone has a probationary period, if they're not pleased with my work, then they let me go. But at least you saw what I can do, not saw what you see on the exterior. Because I can offer you a lot, but let me show you.
Right on. So as you heard, Carole wanted to be a florist, but I don't think she wanted to be. I think she is one. So let me show you the flower arrangement that she made for me. It's a gift that she made. Beautiful. She made this arrangement from scratch. Okay, all made by her own hands, by scratch. Carole, beautiful. Thank you. But tell us about it. Tell us, if somebody wants you to make an arrangement, do you do it or you just do this for fun?
I can do it. I can't say per se I can, you know, get paid or whatever. That's something, you know, discussed on the side, because everything that you earn goes by your income and you patch your benefits. But I do things I'm creative because I love designing. It's something that's, you know, like a hobby for me. And I have done work for friends for bridal showers, celebrating an anniversary, baby showers, and so forth. I work mainly with artificial flowers, but I can do real flowers. I've done for the agency that I work for when they had their celebration fundraiser in recognizing October with Disability Awareness Month, and large bouquets and so forth, ladies' arrangements. I always hope that as I always say, that my creations will be a testimony to all that people with disabilities have abilities, and to those with disabilities as an encouragement that they know that their abilities are greater than their disabilities, and that they should pursue their dreams and let their voice be heard.
So guys, this is a profound statement. People with disabilities have abilities. You know, digest that. Think about that. And it might help you with your disabilities. Okay? Because sometimes we are biased, sometimes we don't understand, and sometimes interviews like this might help us open our views and understand better about our own disabilities, because we all have them. Okay? Some are physical, some are hidden that we don't see, but they vary in one way or the other. Carole, is there anything else that you'd like to speak of?
Well, I always like to say that, people, I always say that you always should direct them as a person first. That's always an encouragement. It's respect. It's not so much offensive. If people say a disabled person, although that person's handicapped. But it's something that they call people's first language, which is an objective way of acknowledging, communicating, and reporting on people with disabilities. So I would not say a disabled person. I would say person with a disability or people with disabilities. I am not a blind woman. I am a woman who is blind. A person is in a wheelchair. They're not wheelchair bound. They are a person who uses a wheelchair, because that wheelchair is a device that they use in order to get around and be mobile and be an active part of the community. And that's the key thing that we are. When you speak to a person, whether, let's say, if I came here, if I'm in a restaurant or I'm going to vote and you're helping me by serving me, and instead of speaking you should speak to me if I'm the person that's being serviced. Instead of speaking to the person who's my sighted guide or I'm with, tell her that the plate is hot. No, speak to me directly. I am the person. There's not, just because I cannot see doesn't mean I cannot be spoken to or communicate, unless there's a specific reason that the person explains that I'll be the one communicating. That would be a separate reason. But I feel that it is very important that people should be spoken to directly in respect and have the same courtesy. I give thumbs up to, I'll say this to the city of Yonkers, and the mayor on this point, that he has allowed people with disabilities to be celebrated. He has a mural, which you had actually did a brief interview with the local artist
with the
Jacqueline
artist, yes.
Rivera, the United Together mural. That was something the Mayor's
Beautiful.
Disability Advisory Board, and I serve on as chair, had initiated, and also we did a flag raising back in October to celebrate the contributions and people with disabilities. These are things that are, that should be done across the board. And I'm sure other places do it, but I have not seen, to my knowledge, in Westchester County, a flag raising that has recognized people with disabilities. And I just think that is awesome as a whole, but it just says, we're a diverse community, we're just like everyone else. We just have some challenges, physical or others, that are unseen, like you said.
Well, you heard it. I heard it. I learned it. I hope you learn it. And let's take this as a way we should conduct ourselves when addressing those that might have some disabilities. And thank you to Mayor Spano for making their lives, or for lack of a better term, make things easier. We appreciate what you do for them, for that group, what you do for us, what you do for everybody, for our city. Thank you very much, Carole. Thank you for taking the time. It's appreciated. And if you ever need me to voice any of your concerns, to make our city be a better city, help our community be a better understanding community, you know how to reach out to us. You've been on Yonkers Voice for a while now. How long has it been, Carole?
Oh, it's been a few years, if I don't catch you live at the moment, because you pop up at all hours of the day, and I cannot always just jump in and watch.
No, you have to jump up and watch.
I can't, my boss will give me pop out,
No, tell your boss, Yonkers Voice comes first.
And sometimes, unfortunately, I am up at the wee hours in the morning and I catch you, but I do watch it afterwards.
Yeah.
And I do see the interviews also that you do, so
That's
you're
it.
always informing, you're always, and so forth, and like you said, listen, there's a choice, we all have choices. You either watch or you don't, and there's no reason to be disrespectful on or off camera to anyone. It's just work together, there's too much ugliness in the world, and let's just be a blessing in life,
Carole, do you allow me to make your words my words?
Sure.
Guys, you either follow or unfollow. You don't have to be there. If what we do is not your cup of tea, and I understand, we have options, we have choices, then I understand if you don't follow us. But we will continue to do the news in the way we've been doing for the last 17 years. We didn't start it a year ago or 2 years ago. For the last 17, we do news raw and real. What I see is what you see. We want you to formulate an opinion about the things that you see, and not about the things that are right, or the conception that I get from what I see. We are real, pure, and real. Thank you for watching. Carole, thank you for being here. I appreciate you taking the time. And guys, until next time. Thank you.
Thank you.